It's like the group's de facto couple. Everybody else understands that they're together, but they don't even know that they're together. Yeah. Anyway, welcome to Game Central Junction, everyone. Hey, we're actually here on the right day at the right time. So, welcome. I am your host, The Metal, as always, and joining me is my co-host, Marsupial Gamer, who is in studio, if you want to call it that right now. He's just eating, so he's not going to make you guys look at that. You know. Me, I'm just not that nice. If I had not finished everything like minutes before the show started because I just shoved it down my face real fast, I would have put you all through that because that's just the kind of guy I am. But we're here to talk about games. There's a lot of things to do with games today, so we're going to have a good time. A few announcements that happened since then, some other updates, some crazy things going on in the industry at large, but I think we'll start off with a slight in memoriam. One of them actually involving games. The other two were just because they happened to die recently and they were very influential people, though both of them have appeared in video games at times. Earlier this week, Ozzy Osbourne passed away, which to me, very influential musician. First CD I ever bought with my own money. I went to Barnes & Noble and I purchased Black Sabbath's Paranoid because my dad's cassette had been like magnetized or were down to the point that you couldn't really hear it anymore. Always loved Sabbath, always loved Ozzy. I'm not actually really sad to see him pass though, because he's the type of guy where it's like, man, respect. I'm surprised you even lived as long as you did. Yeah. It's like, if you had told me he died before I was born, I wouldn't have been surprised. But the fact that he made it all the way to like nearly 80.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feel bad for Sharon.
I don't.
But, you know?
No. I mean, I heard that they repaired some things, but they had been on the rocks on and off for a while anyway. I feel bad for her in general. All right, just in general, I feel bad for marrying Ozzy and having to deal with that her entire life. But it is what it is.
I didn't know they were having problems. Sorry, I had to grab that.
I mean, she was married to Ozzy. Do you expect anything else? She wasn't even his first wife, right?
When they were on that show, they seemed pretty happy.
Oh yeah. The most astroturfed and like fake reality show ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm sure though, like especially even if you do have issues, when somebody's clearly ill and near the end, a lot of those issues just disappear. Well, you kind of just forget about everything.
Yeah. I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a little surprising. I mean, he had Parkinson's, right? And
I think so. I think that's what took him. Yeah. It was crazy that he actually finished Black Sabbath's last tour. Right, he had got back in with them because obviously they hadn't been together forever, and it was more of like an Ozzy farewell tour than anything. It's like, yep, I finished, peace out, gone.
Yeah, like their last performance was like 2 weeks earlier.
Yeah. Kind of wish I could have seen them in concert sometime. But
In a little.
Yeah. But you know what? Can't regret things, right? Also, earlier today, Hulk Hogan passed away.
Yeah.
Who, again, has also... Ozzy, talk about his passing real quick. One thing I forgot is for a very brief moment, who was it? It was some studio. I think I actually have it up. I forget the name of the studio. Where the heck is it? Oh, this is bothering me. But the studio who owns Brutal Legend decided to make it free for exactly 666 minutes. So anybody who happened to be around during that was able to pick up Brutal Legend, which is not a game about Ozzy, but he does appear in the game. So it was kind of like their little nod at him. Is it Double Fine? That was it. Double Fine made it free. Which I can't even get back to that article because for some reason, the site wants me to validate my age all of a sudden. I guess maybe because of the content of the article. Okay, well, I'm not going to do that because you're busting my browser. But yeah, they made it free for exactly 666 minutes. That's a nice little joke. Didn't end up grabbing it. Because I don't know. Oh, it was on itch.io, which would have been great. You would have gotten like a non-DM, what's it called? DRM version of it if you downloaded it from itch. And a lot of people should have if they did. I already own it on Steam, though, so it's like, I don't really need it again. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Hulk Hogan is also a guy who has been in a lot of video games in the past and not just wrestling games. Because the dude's been in all kinds of things, right? Like, he was in movies, he was in commercials, TV shows. So, like, these people have been tangential to the industry for a long time. Were you going to say something?
Oh, no. It was just a related thing to games, but we're not done with this yet. So
Yeah.
I wanna get to
Well,
that.
because there was one more important. This guy actually was influential to games itself and involved in one of currently the most influential series in video games. Julian LeFay passed away just the other day, which if you don't know who he is one of the co-creators of the Elder Scrolls series with Arena and Daggerfall. And he was even working on something now. He was working with his old partner, Ted Peterson, on Wayward Realms. And Ted even said that LeFay stepped away from work just like a week before his death. And just choosing to spend what he was already anticipating to be his final days surrounded by family. Which is always a good decision. Like, don't work yourself to death. If you know you're going to go, leave it to somebody else to take over and go spend it with your loved ones.
What did he die of? He was only 59?
Yeah. I'm looking.
He must have been sick?
They just said illness, but it doesn't say specifically what.
Oh, it was terminal cancer.
Terminal cancer? That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess he was only... Wow. Wait a minute. Oh, okay. He announced it on July 17th. I'm sure he had been diagnosed
Yeah.
before that.
But yep, so that we just lost a really big icon, I would personally say, in games history. If you're somebody who's actually into games history. Swiss Chozo points out nobody even recognizes LeFay and Peterson as, like, creators of Elder Scrolls. They only ever think of, like, Todd, right? So
He was the lead
that's
programmer in
Yeah.
Arena and Daggerfall. Did you say Morrowind?
I did not.
Involved.
Yeah, he was. But that's actually when they pulled off. It was LeFay specifically who said that he did not like the direction of Morrowind. He didn't like what it was doing to the series. It kind of like narrowed in scope what was otherwise a very large series. So there's a lot of creative differences that caused both him and Peterson to walk off of it.
Ars Technica called him the father of Elder Scrolls.
Yeah. That'd be a very appropriate title for him. But yeah, it's sad to lose somebody like that. At least his partner, Ted, is still around. And it does look like they are finishing up. Those type of games, like, I've been waning interest on them for quite a while. Even though I was initially interested in Wayward Realms just because, like, I just don't feel like I have the spirit to dedicate to those type of games anymore. But
Yeah.
given that it is, like, the last thing that LeFay worked on, my interest in Wayward Realms also just went back up. Like, I might play through it just because of that, you know?
Is that in like early release or anything?
Yeah, it's kind of like I think it was crowdfunded, but it's in like a small studio indie project they've been working on for about half a decade now. And so I'm waiting for the
Once
full
lost
release.
game.
Yeah.
Life-size, procedurally generated open world.
Yeah, it had a few former Bethesda developers on there too, like Vijay Laxman is also on there. So it's like it's probably going to be a good game for people who like those type of games. If you want, especially because it's very island based. So you're going to be going through dungeons and everything on these like procedurally generated islands in the world. It's going to be basically like if Daggerfall was made in the modern day is kind of what they're going with on that.
Yeah.
And that sounds interesting to me. And I was initially interested, but it's like, God, games like that, they take so much dedication just to actually make any progress in them. Right? But, you know, again, it was his last game, so I might get back into it again.
I guess it's, well, on Steam, it just says coming soon. It's not like whatever they call it.
No, I think you have to be like
Early
some
access.
level of backer supporter to get into the test builds, and you are technically officially a tester of the game in that case. So there are some people who are touching some of the builds, but it's very limited.
Yeah. They do mention that their last progress update was April 30th, and they say they're working hard on bringing early access of Wayward.
Oh, that would be cool. That would be really cool. Oh, sorry. Oh, I had a cough for a minute. My Dr. Pepper went down the wrong pipe.
Ooh.
I'm fine.
Didn't even
I'm fine.
notice.
Yeah. Well, luckily I'm muted in time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be really cool if that was brought to Steam. I'm usually not interested in early access stuff, but I think that might be an exception I'd make.
Mm-hmm.
But yep, that's our little in memoriam at the start. With that out of the way, rest in peace. 3 people who are all legends in their respective industries. We can get on to the other things we should talk about today. You said you had something else you wanted to get to?
Well, you mentioned Itch.io.
Oh, yep.
Itch.io.
We've got a conjoined story about that
Yeah,
because there's
Steam and Itch.
yeah. So
Yeah. I don't
how do we want to
understand
start that?
what the confluence of events was, but they both seem to have made the same decision at the same time.
Oh, well, we know it came from Visa and MasterCard. It came from the payment processors at the top, right? So it started last week, which did happen in time for us to cover on the show. We just didn't have the Game Central Junction last week to talk about, where Steam started purging a bunch of stuff you might consider not safe for work. Some of it was porn games, hentai, stuff like that. But some of it was just like borderline lewd, right? And they were just going through and anything that could remotely be considered M. Well, not exactly. There's a lot of M stuff on there, but like things that would have been AO back in the day when that was still like a rating. And on the fringe of that, on the higher end of M, we're starting to get knocked down. And we know specifically it's because of Visa MasterCard. I can't remember the name of the group, but there's actually like an activist group.
It's
You got it?
Collective Shout.
Collective Shout, yes. They're kind of they're like the Karens that call up the manager of a place to get something changed. Like they're those type of people.
Yep.
If it's just so ask, isn't AO still a thing? I think it's possible to still get that rating. It's just, the thing is like you're kind of self-rated, right, with the board, and as long as the ESRB doesn't argue with your rating, it's whatever rating you give yourself. They will say like, hey, we looked it out and your thing doesn't fit this rating. You're gonna have to re-rate it. That's kind of how like the process goes. Like you submit with a potential rating, they check it out. They're like, hey, we don't agree with your rating. You resubmit with a higher rating. They check it out. In the modern day, really nothing has gone past M. There's like almost no need for AO. Even in like the degree of porn games. It usually they just get unrated because you're just not
they
going to
don't
make it
have
through
to
the
be rated.
ESRB. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just not going to be in
I guess
stores. That's what's going to happen. You're not going to be on a store shelf.
Yeah. Did it stem back to, was it Doom or, they were looking at doing a similar rating to movies, and the industry said, whoa, wait a second. What if we just self-regulate?
Yes.
And so, Congress was going to potentially pass laws.
It was Mortal Kombat.
Worked out a deal. Mortal Kombat.
It was Mortal Kombat. There was 3 games. I always forget the third one, but the second one was what's it? It's Night Trap. That was it. It was Night Trap was the other one. The FMV game. Yeah, people. That's actually why it's famous, is because it was one of the 3 games that caused the ESRB to be formed in the first place. Otherwise, everybody would forget about Night Trap.
Let's see. According to Google's AI, Doom was basically the third one.
Oh, okay. It was Doom.
So yeah,
Always
Doom
forget
was
that it's
the later
Doom.
one, because those other the other 2 were 1992. Doom was released in 1993, but
I think that's why I always forget it,
had the
because I always
hearings in
think it's
93.
I always think it's like something that was supposed to be in the same year as the other 2, but
Yeah, they didn't have the hearings until 93, but then the ESRB was established in 94. So,
it was really cool. Back
it
when
was, basically,
back when like Ed Boon was based and he flipped off Congress.
yeah. Well, yeah. So I guess Steam just completely removed a bunch of games, right?
Yes.
Just utterly removed them. Now,
Well, at first it's
itch.io
weird,
is
right?
claiming.
At first, certain games were getting shadow banned on Steam, where you couldn't even find them in search if you tried. But then, as things were rolling out more and more, this was like a cascade that happened over the course of like a couple days. As things were progressing, you were even getting confirmation from some developers that they couldn't even access like the dev page on Steam anymore and stuff like that.
Yeah, even if you had the direct link.
Mm-hmm.
Now, itch.io is claiming that they've delisted a bunch of things, a bunch of games, but that if you, now I'm not quite sure, they're saying if you bought some games, you can still download them, like re-download them if you don't already have them.
Yes, so I think that's technically the case with Steam too. I don't think if you've already purchased it, you can't download it, because Steam does that in general with games that have been delisted from the website. If it's in your library, you still have the ability to download something you've purchased, because then they would get into legal problems if you could no longer download something you've purchased before. They're just not, due to the payment processors, letting you purchase these things in the future.
Yeah. Which I guess makes sense, because that's where it's coming from, payment processor. So some people are claiming that they no longer have access to games that they've bought, but it's hard to tell.
Yeah, if that is the
people
case,
are
though,
saying,
then
well,
Valve would be in big legal issues because of, like,
yeah,
even their
Well,
own
this is
terms of
specifically with
service.
itch.io.
Oh, with itch. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which it would still be an issue.
Some people are saying, yeah, some people are saying that when they look at their library, that everything they've purchased seems to still be there and downloadable, installable, or launchable. In fact, somebody even posted a picture of their library, which was like all NSFW stuff. But other people are saying that they can't even see a bunch of their stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm not exactly sure. It may be a glitch. I'm guessing it's a glitch. Like they probably didn't
Listen,
mean to do that, and hopefully they'll fix it.
I have nothing against not like NSFW games and everything. I've played a few myself. Yeah, I played Fate back in the day. I've played several visual novels back in the day. If your entire library is basically nothing but porn games, though, I think you need to get some help.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's fine. It should be legal.
Moderation.
Well, here's my question. Can I even... Yeah, well, I don't know if it's still listed, but I can install Panty Party if I want to.
Oh, okay.
Let me see. Oh, even their store page is still up. I guess that's not really...
Yeah.
And it's, well, I mean, I don't know. It depends on where you work, but it doesn't actually... there are no human beings actually shown in Panty Party.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
for
there
the
are,
most
but they're
part,
fully
right?
closed, so.
They are basically taking down very small studio and indie stuff, right? Though they did have big targets. What was the one? Was it Detroit Become Human was actually one of Collective Shout's targets. They couldn't attack that, but that's one of the things that they describe as going too far. And if they think that's going too far, imagine what other stuff they'll come for, right? So when they start attacking bigger things, I think that's when we're going to start seeing some stuff come to a head. It's like, take Fate, for example. I don't believe they sell a version of the original VN, like, anywhere. You can still get a hold of it. But, like, the remaster on Steam has basically all of the sex cut out of it, more or less, right? And it is nowhere. But if you started attacking stuff like that from, like, these really big organizations who probably have more weight when yelling at a payment processor than just some, like, smaller activist groups do, then you'll start seeing things change. But right now, there's actually some movements. And there's some devs that are throwing their hats behind the movements.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Josh,
Well, yeah,
when he
like,
says they want to censor
basically
everything.
To tell MasterCard and presumably Visa, although I think this was specifically MasterCard. Did this one?
Mostly
Anyway,
MasterCard, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, to basically say you have no right to do this. I mean, it's a legal transaction between,
Yeah.
a potential, supposedly an adult and a company. It's like it's legal. It should not be. You don't have a right to basically make laws. Like, you can't just make this illegal.
Yeah,
know,
there's no
effectively.
like legislature that was passed or anything. A private company just decided this will not be supported, and that actually is a big hamper
Yeah, especially
against
when
freedom of expression and speech and stuff like that.
Yeah. Especially when nobody on earth associates MasterCard with these transactions. They're not,
Yeah,
you're
you're
I
a
could
service.
see where,
That's all you are.
yeah. I mean, I could see where Steam, although they've been really good about it, like, they have a bit more of a right to decide what they want to list or not.
Yeah, well, because they are, as a
I mean-
store, they are technically a platform. Like, any storefront can decide
Yeah.
what they put in their store or not.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, whatever. TJ Maxx can decide what they want to sell or not.
Yep.
But, Steam, I think there is a question of some, there would be potentially some, in my opinion, monopolistic practices if they wanted to, because it's like, where else are you going to get some of these games? But anyway, beside the point. But with MasterCard, it's like, nobody's going to say, oh, I'm allowed to buy this game with my MasterCard. They must be endorsing this, or there's, associated in any way. Like, MasterCard's just it's become just like a way that you pay. It doesn't. It was a while before I realized Visa and MasterCard were even like companies of themselves. I mean, obviously, talking a couple decades ago, but when I was younger, I didn't realize, oh, this is actually a company.
Yeah, and it's weird. It's like a form of a bank, but it's not like a traditional type of bank, right? Which, I mean, I guess technically any payment processor is kind of adjacent to being a bank, even when they aren't fully. And MasterCard,
Yeah,
like
but
the
it's
actual board is like the CEOs of 10 different banks around the
Yeah.
world. Yeah.
It's weird. It's not just because payment processors I think of in terms of like Stripe
Yeah.
and Square and even PayPal. But
MasterCard is many
they're
different
like a
things at the
level
same
above.
time, right? Like they are a
Yeah.
payment processor, but they're also they're like a bank. They're a debt organization, right? They can give you credit
Yeah.
for you to spend on something, or they're like this weird realm
of.
that they are their own thing. That they're not really like anything else at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, they're like a backbone payment processor because they
Mhm.
don't give you credit.
Yeah.
You know, you get a MasterCard from another company that's
Yes,
actually
yeah.
the underwriter for your debt. So it's not like if you default on your MasterCard,
You owe them
MasterCard
money.
doesn't
You owe
give a
bank
shit.
money, actually.
Yeah, you owe
Yeah.
whoever issued that card to you.
But then
weird.
whoever issued
Yeah.
that card to you, their company has the bank, because a bank is a company too, has a huge stake in MasterCard. So it's like this weird
Right.
incestuous bank area. You know?
Yeah. Well, it's like the internet sort of backbone companies. Like there's ISPs, and then there's whatever they're called, the
Yeah.
backbone ISPs that are like,
Well, so
you
that's
know,
actually
lords of entire areas of the earth.
something that people have been arguing, and one of the ways that might actually solve this problem is if these credit card companies had to be legally labeled service providers, in the same way that like an ISP or a cable provider is, where there are certain regulations about what they can and can't do as a service provider.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like normally, Cox Cable can't say, yeah, we're not going to serve to you because you're black.
Yeah, or something like that.
You know, or
Or
Jewish
like-
or Republican or.
We don't like the fact that you have an undercut hairstyle, so we're just not going to give you anything, you know? Not until you like
Yeah,
change, like shave
yeah.
it all off or grow it back. They don't
Yeah,
get to
we don't like the
willy-nilly
color of your
decide and
house.
discriminate against people, you know?
Yeah.
They get to
but,
discriminate if
like,
there's a good, valid reason. Like, you haven't paid your bill in 6 months, so we're not going to provide to you anymore, even in the future until you resolve your debt.
Yeah. But like these internet backbone companies and MasterCard and Visa and
Yeah.
you know, apparently they can do whatever the hell
yeah.
they want.
For any reason.
You can say, yeah, we won't allow, you know, a payment to you because your company has, you know, your CEO has wrong ideas or whatever.
Oh yeah, and the problem is too. I think this is probably gonna have to come from outside of the United States, just to be like frank about it. I feel like if this is gonna be resolved, the EU probably is more likely to resolve it than the US, because while they do have influence everywhere, in this country, those credit card companies kind of get the say on most things. Like, I think it'd be pretty hard to convince a lot of our representatives to go against the desires of the credit card companies.
Yeah.
Not that it's
Yes,
impossible. It's just not likely.
It depends. Yeah. It's just like, well, yeah, theoretically, because you know, because we have the company or the country has so much debt.
Yeah.
Like how much of that is held by MasterCard. But on the other hand, we do have President Trump, and he would be probably the only one who would be like, no, we're going to, I don't know, bomb your headquarters if you don't.
Well,
you know?
he could wage like a moral war on them. The problem is like the president doesn't really have any say on that. He'd have to rally the like senators and stuff that he endorsed that got voted underneath him to vote in that way, because it really is Congress that has to make that decision. Not saying he can't,
But I
because he
mean,
did endorse a lot of
he
people,
could-
and a lot of people got voted because of his endorsement.
But he could potentially persuade MasterCard to stop doing this sort of thing, basically by saying, I mean, because it's like, well, who really has the power? Well, we have bombs and guns. Does MasterCard have bombs and guns? You know.
Yeah, but that's probably like the worst way to
could.
go about doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in general, the president does have a lot of social power. Like, I don't see why he would do this at all. Like, I could not see the chain. It could happen, but I just couldn't see the chain on how this particular issue makes it to Trump and then he cares about it. Right? Like, there's a few different steps removed that would happen. But the president does have a lot of social power in itself that could result in the chain of effect of things happening.
Yeah, I guess so. It's kind of like the Iron Bank in Game of Thrones. You know, it's like, well,
Yeah.
does the king really have the power, or does the Iron Bank have the power? I
Yeah.
don't know. They're the ones that supply the armies. So, yeah, it's crazy. I don't know. There are lots of. I see some. What do you call them? Petitions and stuff, but like.
Oh yeah. I think the ones that matter the most,
gotta-
though, is that you actually have industry leaders and people who are like known to have a lot of influence by it. What you got to do is you have to convince investors that this is not in their best interest, because one of the big things is that a lot of the investors in these video game industries aren't just investors in video games. Their investments are everywhere, and some of them are part of hedge funds and stuff. And if you can convince them this is bad for them here, it can bleed over into other areas. There are investors in MasterCard and Visa, right? So Weston Mitchell from Obsidian, he's one of the developers of the Outer Worlds, and he's been in Obsidian for a while, is another one of the big guys who is talking about how it might just be porn games now, but they won't stop there. And as long as your product is not illegal, they shouldn't be allowed to decide what you can and can't buy. So if we could get a lot of people like this backing it, people who are in the industry that actually have some clout behind them, then we can probably get investors to be worried about it. And that's where you start to see real change. When the people from these funders think like, hey, I don't like that this is happening. When money moves, things happen.
Yeah. Well, you need to get some. I think the only thing that'll get some real backing behind this is if Pirate Software is against it, then everybody will be.
These days, it seems like that.
Yeah. We can get him to be like, no, MasterCard was right.
Yeah.
Then we'll get some real, traction.
I don't think it'd be very hard to convince him of that either.
Yeah. Thor.
Yeah.
Or, as I've recently discovered, which I guess everybody already knew. What's his name? Jason?
Jason,
something.
yeah.
Jason Hall? Yeah. He's been, I can't keep up with the latest on that.
I don't even try to. It
That's
just
crazy.
keeps ending up in my feed.
I know, right? It's like, oh, he put his foot in his mouth again. It's like,
Yeah.
did he though? Whatever.
Did he ever take it out?
Yeah. Something.
But yeah, I think this is something that's going to be stirring up for a while. I don't know when this is going to be put to rest. This might be something we keep coming back to anywhere between a year or two from now, So we'll definitely keep you updated on how things are going. There might actually be a pretty big exodus to Newgrounds of all places, because Newgrounds isn't really beholden to these people. Like, yeah, sure, you might still need to use them to pay for digital supporter, but like the way Tom Fulp is, if for some reason they can no longer accept credit card payments for supporter, he'd be like, send me a money order in the mail and I'll keep your supporter running, right? But otherwise, it's pretty much a free site with some ads at the maturest level. But the problem is like people who want to sell their games. So it's like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna put like a demo version up on a site like Newgrounds and then redirect people to, I don't know, a Patreon or something that doesn't mention what you're selling to them, that leads you to like a few jump around links until you get to a Google Drive file that gives them the actual game. Like, stuff like this does get ridiculous where you're not actually getting rid of it. You're just creating a black market for it. It's like the prohibition of alcohol all over again.
Yeah. It's weird how it's like, well, this is a little bit different from sort of, woke censorship, but
Yeah.
so the hard thing is like, okay, in the past it's been like, well, Republicans are going to have to lead the way to, prevent the censorship, but are Republicans going to stand up for porn games?
No, absolutely not. That's the thing, is like,
Yeah.
Puritans are
short-sighted.
Puritans no matter which way you go.
Mhm.
If only we had some, like, sane people anywhere, you know?
Mhm. Yeah. Oh, here's an insane person.
Oh, yeah.
Former Gawker writer Yvette D'Entremont saying "fuck that guy" to Hulk Hogan because
He
his
destroyed
lawsuit
Gawker.
that ended Gawker.
Yeah. Probably one of the best things he's ever done, to be honest.
Yeah, that was great. And she is
Yeah.
getting universally just ratioed into the ground by
Yeah.
everybody.
Well, speaking
Even,
of sexy things and journos.
Even Rich Barris was just what's the word? Dunking on her,
Dunking, yeah.
the people's pundit. Yeah. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, anyway, speaking of sexy games and journos. So, Lollipop Chainsaw is getting a sequel and an anime. I don't know if you've heard about that. You're familiar enough with Lollipop Chainsaw?
I am. I thought
Yeah.
they already.
Well, they did a remaster.
I thought they already did a. Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking they already had announced a sequel, but it must have been the remaster.
Yeah, they did a remaster. They're going to have a sequel game, and it's getting an anime too. I am only tacitly interested in it because neither of the big names that were attached to Lollipop Chainsaw are actually attached to it. I don't really care that James Gunn isn't going to be involved. Apparently, a lot of people didn't know that James Gunn was one of the writers, or one of the lead writer for Lollipop Chainsaw. It makes sense that he's not going to be involved. He's working on DC movies as like their lead guy now. But that wouldn't have bothered me even if he wasn't working on that. I don't need him. The thing that bothers me is that like Suda51 won't be working on it. It's like, God, that's why I play these games, is for Suda51. So if the trailer looks good enough to make up for that, maybe I'll play it anyway, because I do like Juliet Starling as a character. But it's driving some journalists crazy, because in the press release, they had an official press release for it, as you do with things. It said that neither the anime or the game will be constrained by the normal DEI nonsense, and that triggered a lot of people when they said that, which is already promising enough as it is, just seeing that in there.
Yeah. That sounds good.
Yeah.
All I see on Steam is the remake, I guess. Repop.
Yeah, it was just a recent announcement.
Yeah. Last year. No, but I was just looking for the original.
Oh, yeah, I think the original's pretty old. You would only find the remaster on Steam, because I believe it was console exclusive when it came out.
Oh, what console was that?
Oh, God, when did Lollipop Chainsaw come out? Was that PlayStation 3, maybe? I'm trying to remember. It was a long time ago.
So the company's Dragami Games. Is this a Japanese company?
I believe so. The thing is, it's technically part of the Sudaverse, as they call it, right? But it wasn't like most Suda stuff is made with his company, Grasshopper. I believe Grasshopper's name is on it, but they weren't like the main producer of the game. Like I said, James Gunn was the writer. That's why it has very like hokey and Buffy vibes to the game, because of the guy who wrote it. But that's part of the charm. You know, it's a fun game. I don't usually like when Gunn works on other people's properties, but I do like a lot of his original stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I see this. Like the previous work, this work aims to be full of black humor
Mhm.
They aim to commercialize it without DEI censorship.
Yep.
Awesome. Most
So,
people are complaining it's James Gunn or Suda.
Yeah, that's my complaint is that there's no Suda on it. But I have seen a few journos getting upset about the lack of DEI thing, as you'd expect. That's just who they are. I feel like that's a direct attack at them by saying something like that.
Other people are saying they do not believe that it will be anti-woke. Although
That's fair.
it says, although, like, is this person complaining that James Gunn, I don't know. Like, I would think that he would have been more likely to censor, but who knows?
The gun? I don't know, man. It could cut either way with him. You know?
Yeah.
Because the dude is kind of like a funny edgelord at his heart, right? So like you never know whether he would do something in like the modern direction or not.
Yeah. It says
Suda,
Gunn
though, I
used
think would be very, very unlikely to make it woke, though, if he was involved.
Yeah. Oh, I see. So apparently back in 2012, he was criticizing the critics, saying that Lollipop Chainsaw was sexist. Basically saying those arguments are coming from a place where the secret message is sex is bad, sexual attraction is bad, lust is bad. And yeah, he's just saying that this is that which is pretty much it. That Puritans are just primarily, frankly, like anti-woman. Seems like to me.
Yeah, and I think that's like why with Gunn himself, it's a coin flip, which way things will cut, because he does seem he's progressive for sure. Like you could see it in his writing. That's how he writes, even going all the way back. But he's also like one of those like traditional anti-censorship guys. He does, he's not a Puritan at all. So that's why like his humor might still go in that direction, but he's probably not going to do like the crazy censorship shit.
Yeah, it's weird. He has some contradictory things.
Yeah.
Saying something about that the character is taking away a woman's humanity and replacing her with a symbol. I don't know what the hell that means. Has a lot of bullshit.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, he's not going to be involved.
No, he's not. And I like Juliet Starling as a character. I think she's great. So we'll see. I might change my mind on how interested I am in it after I get like a full trailer, like a full like with gameplay and everything.
Yeah.
But right now the lack of Suda is kind of like, do I really want to play one without Suda involved?
Now who's Suda?
Suda 51. He's the head of Grasshopper Manufacture. He's the guy that No More Heroes. Right, like No More Heroes, right? The same guy involved. Juliet exists in the Sudaverse.
51.
I actually forget why he's
Why does
called
he have a number.
that. Because his name is Suda. I don't know. I don't remember where the 51 came from. I think I looked it up at one point, but I cannot remember for the life of me.
Mm-hmm.
But he's gone by Suda 51 for a really long time. Maybe it was his internet handle, for all I know.
Yeah. Interesting. Person says, who associated Lollipop Chainsaw and sex appeal in general with anti-wokeness? The woke did. Sorry.
Yeah. It's a weird thing too. It's like because it used to be the more progressive, like liberal side of things that was pushing for like, why would you cover up sexiness? Yeah. It's weird of how it spanned all the way back around, but that's how the pendulum tends to swing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess. I'm just fascinated by the weird things that people are saying about this.
Oh yeah, and it's like it's one of those things too where a lot of people like to rewrite history and say that like she is like an icon, or like there was no problems with, like, you should have seen the things people were saying about it when it came out, which you saw some with Gunn's old remarks, but like this was a game that everybody was attacking when it first came out.
Yeah. Yeah, so this person is seriously, this is ridiculous. The person saying she's a beloved 2010s cult classic that was fun to play, had endearing characters, and was generally just a good time. But this other one, which I'm guessing is what's her name? Eve from Stellar Blade.
Yeah.
Is Gooner slop that was marketed on sex appeal.
Yeah,
Like...
I was actually thinking about this too.
Yeah.
Right? Like I was trying to formulate this in my head a few weeks ago on how this works, and it's something that intuitively makes sense, but a lot of people don't put into words. And it is nostalgia of childhood, but it's like the normalization of when you're young, right? When you're a child and you don't know much about what came before, right? There's a certain, like, these characters become iconic to you because they existed in your childhood. And you're too young to see what the adults are saying about these characters. And then as you get older and these people start to think the same way as those adults that they weren't paying attention to before, they start criticizing the new stuff in the way those adults did, but not the old stuff, because, that old stuff was fine. It's from their childhood. It was normalized to them, even though there's starkly no difference between the old stuff and the new stuff. And the cycle just repeats every time there's a new generation, which is why there's almost at least like a generational gap between these, right? You could part like Starling and Bayonetta were about the same time, and they got a lot of the same heat, and they're kind of codified the same now compared to people like Eve and was it 2B, right? And then before them was Lara Croft. And when people were complaining about Juliet, people would try to bring up Lara Croft as proof. It's like, oh yeah, but everybody loves Lara Croft. She's normalized. She's an icon. It's like, yeah, but you guys were saying, or not you guys specifically because you were kids, but the same type of people were saying the same things about Lara Croft when she first came out.
Yeah. Now there's someone who's mad because they said that they weren't going to do DEI, and they're like, but you're ruining Lollipop Chainsaw. It was a feminist woke game.
Feminist, maybe. There actually might be a little bit of that in there, talking about like the fact that Gunn was involved, but it definitely wasn't woke, right? Or I guess right? Because like feminism is kind of Marxism to begin with, but it's the pre-woke version of feminism, Yeah.
Yeah, what this person doesn't realize is that wokeness is not feminist. In fact, it's decidedly anti-feminist. It's in favor of, men having to change in their locker rooms and in front of little girls.
Well, that's the crazy thing, too. It's like it is and it isn't at the same time. It is the mutation of feminism, because that's kind of where it comes from a little. Like, you have to know the history of how all this stuff evolves, because it evolves out of, I think it was like in the 90s when this started to happen, but nobody was paying attention to it. I sure wasn't back then. You have to like listen to people's testimonies and go back and read about what was happening, where intersectional feminism started to pop up, right? Because people are like, well, yeah, women are oppressed, but some women are more oppressed than other women. And that's where all this like intersectionalism starts coming up. And then you start getting all these other divides. So it does evolve out of feminism, but that's why I call a difference between it and pre-woke feminism, because it mutated into this other form of cultural Marxism. But it's got a lineage. You could see the lineage right there.
Yeah, it's crazy how, I mean, frankly, I think the right is now more feminist than the left. Seems to be.
In some ways, maybe.
At least, second wave feminist.
Though I would also
I guess
argue
always
that
has been.
on the mainstream level, the right and the left are almost as Marxist as each other. That's one of the reasons why people are so happy about, I guess, like you want to call it the MAGA movement or whatever. But there are some people that have risen to the top they have a lot of the same sensibilities. MAGA is not even what it was like at the beginning of the election, but even what it was like 2 or 3 years ago. And the problem is that something gets bigger, it always gets infiltrated by these people, right? And you kind of have to like reject them any time that it happens, but it's so hard. It is so hard to snuff them out of things.
Yeah. Trying to find where they actually had the announcement text, because people are like posting this text, but where did they find it?
I don't know if it was like actually posted, because it was a press release. So it may not have been on a site or anything. Sometimes people put their press release publicly. This might have been something that was sent out to the press.
I found it on their website.
Oh, did you find it? Okay.
Origami Games. It was just, yeah, it wasn't like, there's several posts down. Weird. Anyway. Plus it's all translated from Japanese.
Yeah. I would say this is the way to do it, though. You should not give your press releases directly to the press anymore, which is how you used to do it, right? Before making any public announcement, which before the internet, that kind of was your equivalent of a public announcement. You sent everybody out, you put a time limit. It's like, you guys can release this on this day. Like, this is the day you could put into print. Now you really should just put it on your own website, put it on your social media and everything.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to find where they actually said this thing about DEI, but
Yeah.
probably on some other press release on their website. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, you want some positive news? You want, other than that, I guess I was semi-positive because it was funny to laugh at them. But the positive news, all the sales came in for the Magic the Gathering Final Fantasy crossover that they did recently, the collab. And when they were looking at performance, it only took 1 day of sales for the Final Fantasy collab to be the highest selling set in Magic the Gathering history. Like, that's how popular and the demand for it was. And you could say scalpers, but it's like, yeah, but they also have competition if people were scalping the Lord of the Rings sets just as much. And the Final Fantasy collab beat out the Lord of the Rings set by a huge margin.
Wow. Well, I don't know that Lord of the Rings. When did the Lord of the Rings set come out? Because that hasn't been super relevant for a
It was
while.
2023 when the Lord of the Rings set came out.
Oh, yeah. See, that was too late.
I don't think it's ever too late for Lord of the Rings. It's one of the most popular franchises of all time. People are always talking about the books. And as bad as it was, maybe this actually hurt sales. I don't know. Ring of Power was still kind of new when it came out.
Yeah,
Right.
that's probably why. That's probably why it didn't do as well.
But
Who knows?
it took 6 months for them to reach the 200 million milestone, which the Final Fantasy collab did in a single day.
Which makes you wonder, why does Final Fantasy sell so poorly?
Yeah. Well, I would actually argue to
guess
relevancy.
no.
It's about the same, right? Because all of the characters in this collab, for the most part, are from older Final Fantasy games. Some that haven't been as relevant since the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings movies came out.
I guess you're right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just goes to show Final Fantasy is incredibly popular.
Oh, it is a hit property.
And they just can't get it right. It's just like, I mean, this is why they keep going back to Final Fantasy VII. They think that
that'll solve the problem. We'll go back to the highest selling one, which it wasn't actually.
Yeah. Are they going to remake Final Fantasy VIII? Wasn't that?
That's also not the highest selling one either. So 7 is the highest selling if you combine all of the different 7 properties together, so like across the mat.
Yeah.
But no individual 7 game is the highest selling. In fact, only the original 7 comes close. The highest selling Final Fantasy game to date, even if you don't count the remaster, is Final Fantasy X. Which tracks because the PlayStation 2 is when most people join the gaming audience.
No, and PlayStation 2 is the highest selling console of all time, so.
Yeah, like these are all convergent things, but
Well, and even that was turn-based, wasn't it? Sort of, mostly.
It was, and its sequel was too turn-based. No, it's entirely turn-based. It did. Yeah. I wouldn't even call it sort of. It's more turn-based than 7 is, because 7 had the ATB system. Final Fantasy X had a traditional like initiative order system where when the person's turn came up, like in D&D or whatever, then you selected the action and it did it. It was like
and you had infinite time to decide, right?
And there was no counter or anything. It's like when I'm playing Star Rail and you see like the initiative order on the side, they borrowed that from 10.
Yeah.
Or Octopath does the same thing.
I don't
It is
understand
the most turn-based Final Fantasy game, I guess, since Tactics, 6? If you count Tactics. And before Tactics, since 3. Not 6, the actual 3, because 4, 5, and 6 were ATB.
Yeah.
So mainline
That's
since
crazy.
3.
And, it's almost like Square looked at like, okay, we do the, at the time back in the day, they did the best, animation sequences, out there.
Oh yeah, in and out of combat for like sprite-based stuff, right?
Yeah.
And even the 3D ones too once
like,
you got to PlayStation.
Yeah, they're like, well, you know what? The cutscenes that we do are amazing. How about if every Final Fantasy game from now on is all cutscene, essentially? Like,
well, it did take a while to progress that,
real-time
right?
cutscenes.
Because like 10 still had pre-rendered cutscenes, and it was not the bulk of the game. You could make a movie out of it if you put all of them back together, but there was so much gameplay, so many quests and stuff to do in it, that the bulk of the game was still gameplay. 12.
That's what I'm saying is like,
right. It's like by the time we get to 13, 13's where it really starts to become like a movie.
Yeah, and then 15 and 16, 100%. Like, okay, we're going full bore.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least 13 had some elements of turn-based-ish sort of stuff.
You could kind of turn 15 into a turn-based game. They joke about this, but they actually have, I think I've explained it too. In the Kingsglaive edition, which is also the Windows edition, it's the definitive edition. You can get it all. They added a wait mode where if you don't move, the world doesn't move, and you can switch between the guys, and you can kind of sort of play it like a turn-based game.
Yeah.
It's funny. Even looking. It's funny looking.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know. They and the other thing is they need to get back to like, well, I guess 16 is sort of like sword and sorcery kind of. They kind of get back into
I don't think they
dragons and that sort of
need to fully get back into sword and sorcery, because even Final Fantasy was never fully that. It was mostly that, right? They needed to come up with a balance.
Some technology.
Even from the beginning, right? Like the flying fortress and the airship and stuff like that. Fight Warmech. It's a careful balance, but I think they need to just go back to the crazy intermixed fantasy elements, right? Like maybe still have people living in castles, but it's okay if your castle turns into a giant machine that goes down into the ground and through the sand. Like you want those like sci-fi fantasy elements intermixed inside with your sword and sorcery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like there's a successful Final Fantasy game out there. It's just they haven't figured out the modern version of the formula yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And I think, like,
maybe there isn't a modern version.
I don't
Maybe they
actually
just
have
need
a
to go back to
problem.
Formula, period.
I don't have a problem with the aesthetics of 15 at all. That is not my issue with the game, though, because the world isn't vastly different from 7's world, right? And even 7 wasn't that different from 6. You just weren't dealing with those parts of the world. Like the kind of like Gestalt's Empire was very, very advanced compared to, even there's a one place you go to with the Cultist Tower that is like literally a skyscraper, but for the most part you deal with like the backwoods older kingdoms of the world. So like it wasn't weird jumping from that to 7, and 15 feels a lot like 7. I think the thing that really bummed it out is how much time was involved with like cars and roads, because I had the time of my life when I was on a chocobo running around. That felt like Final Fantasy. But then like I didn't have the combat I wanted playing the game. I think that was like the bigger deal about the game than anything.
Shows us that this Final Fantasy is supposed to be like He-Man, but a multi.
The thing is, like, okay, unless you're dealing with the side games, the spin-offs and all that, there are a few main Final Fantasy games that deal with the multiverse that they sit in, but not a lot, right? Like 3 kind of deals with the multiverse. You could make some arguments for 2, but you don't need to invoke the multiverse for Pandemonium. You could just say that's the hell of the universe that they're in, right? But like 3, you do have the light world, the dark world, and the rift between the two worlds with the cloud of darkness. 5 invokes the multiverse. I'm trying to think. 9 does in its lore in the same way that 6 does, but you don't directly get involved in it at all. Like, they lightly even invoke the multiverse in 6 with the Esper village and, like, the land that they live in. You have to go through a door. But, like, you don't need to invoke a multiverse in that. You could just be like, that's, like, another realm inside the same multiverse. So, like, there's very, very few Final Fantasy games that actually invoke it. And then you get to Dissidia.
I don't know that you. I don't think of. I think the only way that I think of a multiverse would be if, like, in the notion that all of the Final Fantasies take place in the same
They do.
multiverse, I guess you could say.
And there's proof that they do.
But like within each one, I don't see any references to that really.
Well, one technically
Gilgamesh.
also, Gilgamesh is a big one. One plays in it too. You don't have to think about it that way, right? With the way the time loop works.
I mean, it's just
but the time
loop
does actually branch into a world A and world B. One where the time loop goes indefinitely, and one where you break from the time loop, which they do talk and resolve this in Final Fantasy Dissidia later. That was kind of supposed to be the intention, and they just couldn't resolve all of that in the original version of the game when they were working on it. 4 was originally going to invoke it too, but they even cut that from the manual later. The background story for Mysidia, the town of the mages in 4, was going to be because of a mage from another world washed up on the shore like 500 years ago, and he named the town after the one that he used to live in, and the implication was that it was Mindu from Final Fantasy II who lived in the town of Mysidia. So they were sister cities in the fact that one was named after each other in a different world. So they've been wanted to invoke the multiverse from the beginning. Again, 3 does it. It's just most of the games you can almost ignore that the multiverse even exists.
Yeah, that's confusing.
Yeah.
It really
5
doesn't
though
matter.
you can't.
I mean,
right? Like, because you literally go into the rift between the worlds and you fight X-Death. At first, you could think it's a limited multiverse where it's like it was just created because this one world split into 2 and then it went back together. But like they do invoke like the whole rift between worlds. X-Death is going to grow back into a tree. He's going to become a tree again and grow into everything. And you got to stop him because he's like a threat to the entire multiverse.
Yeah.
But He-Man Actually,
Oh.
it's not a bad reference. His initial point, we got fixed on the multiverse part. Technologically speaking, a lot of Final Fantasy games are kind of like where He-Man is, where they live in this like very old society that like it's built up on old society, so there's no reason to get rid of the houses and the castles and everything that are there. It'd be like showing up to certain towns in Germany today where they just keep fixing up these old houses that have been there forever, so it still looks like a Renaissance period town. But then you do have technology like their tank or whatever rolling around, or maybe there's trains or whatever. It's like He-Man's a very good analogy for the type of hyper or like highest fantasy that Final Fantasy is. It's so high you might call it a Final Fantasy.
Sure.
What were you gonna say? Do you get something on your mind?
No, nothing.
Oh,
it doesn't matter. No. I thought of something, but
I thought we were gonna end up changing topics or whatever.
No, it's all right. Well,
Okay.
I would have, but I just realized it's pointless. It just occurred to me, just a random thought. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, you want some random thing to just to brighten your day a little. So, RuneScape.
Sure.
RuneScape, very old game, right? Specifically talking about old school RuneScape. For fun, they just decided to put a giant crab in the game. Just brand new. Just a giant crab. Does nothing. Doesn't attack you or anything. There's just this giant crab. Kind of like a throwback to the fact that people would smack crabs around all day for training, right? And within like days of them just adding this giant crab to the game, their in-world cults for the crab just started popping up with like players' characters worshiping the crab and everything. Everybody loves it. They've been smacking this crab around all day. Good update, 10 out of 10.
Apparently they're launching the final chapter of the Varlamore storyline yesterday.
I guess. I don't know. I don't really follow
Does
too
that have
much.
to do with anything?
But everybody loves the giant crab.
Cool. Where'd you even see this?
Well,
This
I
story.
think so. I was already primed to see this because I've got a friend who plays RuneScape, so occasionally I jump into his. I lurk in his Discord and I'll see some of his updates. But as I was scrolling through things to talk about today on Games Radar, I did see them talking about it. It's like, oh, I know what slightly about this. Let me pull it up to talk about it. If my old co-host is actually the guy who I always see RuneScape updates from. Noctinex, who was my co-host before you were on. If he was still on the show, there's no way we wouldn't have been talking about this today. So I'm kind of throwing this in as a nod to him.
I see. I can't even, like, in searching, I can't find any stories about this thing.
It's cool though, you know. Like I love it when old games just update stuff and add things, especially like ridiculous things that don't matter, like things that like only the community is gonna appreciate.
Is there a difference between old school RuneScape and like normal RuneScape?
So old school RuneScape is the original version of RuneScape that was made back in like when was it 2000, right, when the game first came out. It was like 2002. It was 2 years before Final Fantasy 11 came out. So when it's that version, they'll call it like OSRS for old school RuneScape, right? The other version is RuneScape 3, and RuneScape 3 is kind of a different game that is basically if the company had still been making games up to this point. There was a RuneScape 2, they made a RuneScape 3, it continued. There's a lot of the same story stuff, but the graphics are very different. The marketplace, a lot of the way the game works is very different. It's a slightly more modern MMO, while old school RuneScape is literally just the experience people got with RuneScape.
Okay, so that's why. So the thing I read was about the current RuneScape.
Oh, okay.
Most recent.
Yeah, like I don't think they're adding stories to
RuneScape.
old school RuneScape, as far as I know. Though they do occasionally put in updates like this, just because they support the game.
Yeah. Long and storied history of using crabs to train combat skills while AFK. Interesting.
And like even as somebody who hasn't played RuneScape in maybe like 2 decades, right? A little less than that. I didn't stop in 2003, but close to 2 decades. I still appreciate this because I love it when you do these little like fan community things for something that ultimately doesn't matter. Like as a developer, they don't need to do stuff like this, and they still do it. I think that's really cool.
Apparently, you can attack it, but it has infinite health and it deals virtually no damage.
Yeah.
So attacking it really doesn't do anything. So
Yeah. And people have been smacking it around anyway, though, just because.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, so you get a tiny payout to the 16 players who deal the most damage while it's spawned.
Yeah.
And I guess it just despawns.
Very, very small payout of like gems.
Yeah.
Which makes sense
That's
because
weird.
like it's supposed to look like it's blending into the gem-filled hill environment behind it, and it like rises up. And it's like, oh, it's like a walking hill. It was a crap the whole time.
How often is it? It says it's every 10 minutes or so it'll, I guess, despawn and respawn somewhere else.
Yeah.
Weird.
I thought that was neat. So
That's
we
funny.
talked about it for a little bit.
It's hard. It's a very niche community, I think. So it was hard to find and trying to Google it.
It's a very strong community, though. Like the old school RuneScape players are very dedicated to old school RuneScape, right? And I think that's also like it gives you a raw, like a real MMO experience. And it's like one of the reasons why people wanted WoW Classic. It's one of the reasons why people still play Final Fantasy 11. A lot of people preferring the private servers just because it gives you that older experience. These older MMOs that were built around that we're living in another world and the communal experience of interacting with other players kind of matters more than even the content in the game. Kind of, they'll last longer. Like those things will last the test of time longer than even some of these more popular games. Like technically retail WoW is still more popular than classic WoW. But if they keep the server running, classic WoW will outlive retail WoW, right? Final Fantasy 14 is more popular than Final Fantasy 11. But Final Fantasy 11 is so popular they couldn't justify actually sunsetting the game, and will probably outlast Final Fantasy 14. Old school RuneScape will outlast RuneScape 3. Like these older games, they're just built better. They're built different.
Yeah. I think a lot of them are built around community that doesn't exist as much anymore because, the internet's just gotten, I don't know, too mainstream or something. But, I mean, they still exist. It's just the old communities that existed 20 years ago.
And you do occasionally get new people. You'll get some younger people that this is the type of experience that they've been aching for, but they just didn't know because unless like an older person that leads you onto it, how would you even stumble onto this? I think like streaming these old stuff are probably how the younger people find out about it because they'll watch somebody like Josh Strife Hayes, right? Will be covering an old MMO or whatever, or they'll see him playing like RuneScape or EverQuest and be like, that actually sounds like a really fun experience, and then they'll go lose themselves in it. But it's like you couldn't find it anymore. It's because they used to be social media. That was how you had like the congregation on the internet, and if you weren't there, you were just in your isolated forums and everything, you know?
Yeah, that's what I meant in terms of just there are these. Those were the communities. Those were, like you said, those were the social media. So,
like now, why do you need to go to an MMO
popular.
if you could just be on Twitter or something, right?
Yeah. And you probably get a better experience in a single-player game.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Especially with the modern MMOs, right? Like, some of them are even trying to be single-player games, but if you're MMO that's trying to be a single-player game that you could just play with friends or whatever, or to make friends, the problem is that you're making some sacrifices in your live service, and you're never going to be as good as an MMO that was built around the core principles that MMOs used to be built around, and you'll also never be as good as an offline single-player game. You're making too many sacrifices in both directions.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember at Ultima Online, one of the ideas was you cannot beat these bosses and stuff like that on your own. There are, you know, fairly early on, there are just challenges that are impossible for they intentionally made it so you have to have a group of people working towards that goal. It just doesn't work without that.
Yeah.
And that's what made them so popular at the time, because that was the only way sort of, you know, to meet a bunch of people and work towards the same goal and start to socialize and stuff online. Yeah,
well, that's the thing, too.
Twitter.
I think quality of life is what has destroyed MMOs, right?
Yeah.
Because everybody's like, I want these quality of life updates. But you don't think of the second or third order repercussions of your quality of life updates. It's like, I want a party finder or like a matchmaking system for stuff in MMO. It's like, that's cool at first, but do you know what happens? Especially new players or lazy players become reliant on the party finder and the matchmaking system that will auto match you, and they'll stop socializing as much and doing the things that actually made the MMO great because they don't need to anymore.
Yeah, you used to be like, okay, gosh, I need a party to do this. I better, you know,
LFG,
join a guild or start talking to people or. But then, you know, the other thing is that things got, what do you call it, theory crafted to the point where,
like a meta,
and then people just got so serious. Yeah, where it's like, oh, if you can't, you know, be among the top DPS, you know, people, then nobody's gonna want you in their party, and
or like
playing for fun.
Things will be like, every single raid needs a warlock, and we're still looking for a warlock in the group, and we've already got this other thing that you are. So while we could run it without the warlock, and we could run with 2 paladins, right? It's like, we actually don't need 2 paladins, so we're not going to let you into the group. We're just going to sit here and wait until we can get a warlock for the summoning.
Yeah,
you know?
And it's like, you know, we know how to beat it. We know, you know, and it's almost like, if we can't guarantee that we're going to beat this raid or whatever, then it's a waste of time. It's like, well, but the whole point was, but there's too much internet now, because okay, other people sort of solve the dungeon, and then it's like, if you don't do it the way that it was solved to do,
when the experience is solving the dungeon, right? Like, and I hate this too, right? It's one of the reasons why I hate dungeons in Final Fantasy XIV specifically. All dungeons, because their instances are on a time limit, so you have an hour and a half inside that instance to solve it. And that puts some restraints to where, like, yeah, you could be woefully unprepared for a dungeon, technically, but you also can't, because all dungeons are built around the item level, so you can't even enter this dungeon if everybody's not the proper item level, which means as long as you do the mechanics right, everyone who's able to enter this dungeon should be able to get past it. And if you keep resetting on a boss, that just means that there's a skill issue. That's okay. I think it would be better, though, is if there was no time limit, and if your party wiped, you got booted out of the dungeon and had to start over, right? Like, that would be more of a traditional experience and everything. But no, it's like, no, because of the time limit, blah, blah, blah. If you wipe against the boss, we're literally going to just start you right outside the boss, and you guys just run back in and start the boss from the beginning. And it's like, this
some people
is like a
that.
baby hand-holdy experience, though, you know?
Yeah. I know Asmongold likes that better because he doesn't like the wasting time of running back or redoing it. But
You
it's
shouldn't
like,
be playing
okay,
an MMO if you don't want to waste
or
time,
like,
though.
yeah, well, he
Yeah.
stopped playing MMOs.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Or at least those ones.
But if you're playing a single-player game,
I don't know. It's
right, you go and play a Souls game. You don't get booted out before the boss. You get booted to the last bonfire.
yeah.
Yeah. Is that you're wasting your time
I guess
getting
it's
back
the
to the
pressure.
boss?
Yeah, he didn't seem to think so. So I mean, but I think the thing is, there's a lot of pressure playing with other people because you feel like you're wasting their time too.
Honestly, though,
And so it's like if it's just you,
I think I'm wasting their time redoing this boss over, or they're wasting my time, right? Like, if we wiped and we just could not do this boss at all, I would rather you boot me from the dungeon and we can all go find other group members so we're not wasting each other's time. Like, I've been in dungeons for 45 minutes on a single boss until, like, somebody decides to leave. And that's actually the better part. Is if somebody leaves, because you don't necessarily, you could try to pay attention, you could cheat. There are people who know who's costing them the fight because they've got the damage tracker mods and stuff on the side that tells them who's doing what. Yeah. And that actually another thing about that fight that game is because of the way it's been built all around this system, the fights aren't fun. It's literally dodge these mechanics, like stand in the right place at the right time, and make sure you get as much of your damage rotation out as possible. So you can tell who's not doing right because you see they're getting hit more often, and the more often you get hit also means the less of your rotation you're getting out because you have to move, right? And you're moving more often than you should, or the hit is stopping your channeling or whatever. Like, all of this is just, it's a multiple combination for a bad time, right? We're talking about second and third order effects. Yeah. And if somebody thinks the rest of the team is holding them back and they leave, there's a system where somebody else can kind of come in and be like your savior. And even if it's the last boss, if it's the last 5 minutes of the dungeon, if they come in and finish the dungeon with you, they get the full rewards as if they ran the full dungeon with you, so that all of you guys get your full rewards too. And then immediately after that one guy who's been flaming everybody else leaves, you clear it. And it's like, well, I know who the actual problem was.
Yeah. Well, and I think the problem is that MMOs can't be based on the same things that single player games are based on. It's like, whatever, Dark Souls or Elden Ring, like it's totally based on skill. Like, you know what you have to do.
MMOs need to be more based on strategy
until you're good enough. Yeah. And with MMOs, you can't count on 20 people to all take the time to learn the skills and do it right all at the same time. Because, like, even if all 20 people have the skills,
one might mess up this one time.
Someone's going to mess up.
Right? And it's like the more people you have,
but if you're,
the higher the odds are that one person is going to mess up, as opposed to, like, if it's just you by yourself rerunning over and over again.
Yeah. So I think that's why it's been more interesting to certain streamers, at least, to do these single player games, because it's like, okay, they can only blame themselves. They can only, just keep working at it till they're better, and then once they alone sort of hit on the right combination of luck and skill, it's like, you can get past that point.
Oh yeah, absolutely, definitely. And another reason why MMOs should be based off of strategy is not just about that perfection thing, but that's also like the point of working with other people is communicating and coming up with a strategy. Like, that's the fun part. It's like, okay, we're a group, but I mean, as a group, what are we going to do? What's our plan to try to take this thing down?
Yeah. The problem is that with the internet and everything, there's like, you can go look up the strategy now. And so you just, there's no more figuring it out. That's kind of the problem.
But I do think that's still more of an issue with things that are slightly more skill than strategy based, because even if there's like a perfect way to do something, if you have more leeway in how the characters are built in the game, you can always find some off meta strategy, and you might have more fun doing it that way. But you can't really do that in slightly more skill based games, because it's like, no matter what, we need to dodge this move that the boss is doing. There's nothing we can plan around that. It is just something we have to do. While if it's like, I don't know, maybe they'll give you one of the few things that doesn't let you come up with a strategy. 14 has like the Paladin's Rampart or whatever. And it's like, listen, right now, I can create a cone where anything that's in that cone is safe from the next move that hits it. Like, you do stuff like that, you do have some leeway for strategy. The more you build into that, the more different strategies people can come up with. And it may not be the best. People will always optimize, but that doesn't mean you and your party can't have fun.
Yeah. I just don't know if they can come up with an MMO that allows each party to have a unique,
like identity
experience. Yeah, like just without being like, well, the internet says this is the way to beat this boss, unless or until they basically have enemies that are run by AI where they're unpredictable, where they're genuinely, and they have move sets that nobody's ever, they come up with new
okay
movesets
what I'm
on the
saying is
fly nobody's ever seen before.
That this is thinking of an extreme end of it. That tends to be more and more the case as like skill shots and stuff matter, right? But I'm saying like on the other end, no matter what, you're still going to get people with the internet that says it needs to do that way. But if we built an MMO that is closer to the older way that MMOs were built, right? And things were more about like, I need to kind of build like a guild or like my link shell or whatever to be able to do this stuff. And the more that you start doing things with statics and everything, it really doesn't matter if the internet says that this is the way you need to do it, because all that matters is what you and your static want to do. Right? So like it might be an issue, but that's also an issue with the modern matchmaking system, because when you have to be match made with randos, of course there's going to be people who flame and tell you you have to do it the meta way. But when you're actually going out and you're finding your own parties, you start to figure out who you do and don't work well with, right? So there'll be the hardcore meta people all grouping together, but the people who want to come up with like a fun thing is like, hey, do you think we can do this fight with nothing but healers? It's like, yeah, I think we can do this fight with nothing but healers, right? And that's that communal kind of like talking to each other experience that, like I said, that's second, third order effect that people don't realize. This is what matchmaking does to systems.
Right. But you don't see that because these MMOs aren't made that way anymore.
Yeah, that's the big problem. It's like they're not built the way MMOs should be built at their core. They just don't have it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Fitzgerald asked, do modern game developers even know how to design a game around strategy? Well,
some do.
Yeah, I don't know that that's necessarily even what AAA studios even care about anymore. So.
Yeah, but we would say like modern game developers. We can say this about any age, where it's like, do game developers know how to do blank? And the answer is going to be some do. Right? It's gonna your mileage will vary depending on where you go. Right? Like one studio might know how to do this thing very well, but they can't make a first-person shooter for the life of them. Like you have to go to people who specialize in this stuff. But definitely, some developers do know how to design a game around strategy.
Yeah, I'd like to eventually play Expedition 33 because I assume that there's strategy involved. And
a lot of people got filtered because they thought the game was like, if I got good reactions, if I learn how to parry and dodge everything, the game will be easy, right? They were thinking it was just going to be the Souls-like of turn-based MMO or turn-based RPGs. And it's there to a degree. If you play in the expert mode, you need to be able to learn those things, but you're still not going to finish the fights if you don't figure out the strategy to the fight too, because you need to be hitting the thing back with the stuff it's weak against, at its weak spots and everything, right? And there are some strategy you can get with how you build the characters, which is why they let you earn respecs to rebuild the character skills from scratch if you're not doing well. Like In fact, I would say, outside of playing on the hardest difficulty that's definitely meant to punish you for missing your dodges and parries, that the game is more strategy than skill-based, because it is a turn-based MMO, and they are turn-based MMO. We keep talking about MMOs, that word's a turn-based RPG. It's a turn-based RPG. It's more strategy-based than it is skill-based, but the skill system is still there.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's all I have to say about that.
I think also, aside from us talking about MMOs, I like turn-based MMOs, RPGs. I wish we saw more of them. I don't know if we'll ever see another one again, unless some indie studio decides to make it. But I would like to see those come back. Like, you guys know, I've played it at least once. Maybe I'll get back to it on here. Wonderland Online is a truly turn-based MMO RPG. But there's been a few other ones in the past that I've played. Shin Megami Tensei Imagine, which was the SMT MMO, was also a turn-based MMORPG. That one was fun. Final Fantasy XI is pseudo, right? It's got the ATB system, but you're wandering around in the open world, and it gets as close to feeling like a turn-based as that it would allow. I would just like to see stuff like that come back. You know, I think that's fun. Just you and a bunch of friends getting together, figuring out strategies for things. A bunch of people deciding, hey, I know nobody's done it before, but if we do it perfect timing with the ATB system, getting it down, I think with nothing but fighters, we can finally take down Absolute Virtue. And they did. That was the solution, too. It was like, nobody could beat it with anything. It's like, yeah, but what if we just, like, face tank the entire thing, juggle aggro, and just beat the shit out of it? Worked.
Awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, hey.
Meantime,
we made it.
I'm gonna keep trying to raise all my
Your
fantasy
lives.
lives up to hero level. Yeah, I'm getting there.
Yeah.
Got a few up to hero, but got to get ready for that DLC. I don't know when that's coming out, but
Soon enough.
I'm still grinding on fantasy life.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people would be like, it can't come out soon enough, but with the amount of grinding you need to do, I think it's soon enough that it's coming out. Maybe even a little too soon.
Yeah, I can't. There's certain materials I still have not even seen and don't know where to get them.
Oh,
So, somewhere out there is a godfish, and I don't know where it is or how to find it, but I need it for several recipes. So.
Yeah. It's one of those things is like where it's like, I don't want to look it up because I want to find it on my own, but eventually I'll want to finish that recipe so bad that I'll just look it up anyway.
Well, the one thing that drives me nuts, but I guess it's, there's a RNG element to it, and there's a thing called treasure groves.
Yeah.
Where you plant a tree and you go in and there's just random rooms that you have to make your way from the top to the bottom. And people are always saying, I found it in a treasure grove at, this level, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I just have to, because I've gone through it.
It's just a matter of time.
A dozen times.
Right. And it's like, eventually.
The one thing I haven't tried is doing a treasure grove and going into every single room. Because there'll be a whole tree of rooms, and you really just have to get from the top to the bottom. So you only have to do one at each level.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do all of them, you can. Maybe that's how you have to find some of these.
Maybe.
So I'll keep working at it.
Yeah. You'll eventually get them.
We'll see.
But anyway, that's the show. We made it to the end. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed us actually being on schedule today. I enjoyed it. I thought we had a good conversation. Rest in peace again to those legends. And hey, share us out. Get more people in here. We'll see you guys no later than Monday for Super Serial Showtime. So take it easy.
See ya.